In this video, we'll talk about 13 life skills that could be challenging to learn, but will pay you forever. In life, there are certain skills we need to master in order to help us become the best version of ourselves. These skills mostly revolve around enhancing our well-being, upgrading our software, and improving our relationships with ourselves and the people around us. Like anything in life, these skills will be difficult to get good at. But with enough perseverance, practice, and willpower, you'll be able to slowly but surely change your life for the better. So, what exactly are these skills that we're talking about? Subscribe to the Psychology Pub YouTube channel and be sure to check out the links in the description for something special. Number 1. Learning a new language. English is the world's language, and especially if you're traveling around the world, it pays to know how to communicate through it, even at a basic level. But knowing other languages also puts you at an advantage. Multilingualism bears a lot of benefits. For one, it makes you more perceptive. According to a study out of the University of Pompeu Fabra in Spain, people who speak multiple languages are better at observing their surroundings and noticing if something is amiss. They're also better at identifying inaccurate or misleading information. That perceptiveness essentially makes multilingual people better at picking up nuances, which also makes them better decision makers. So, do yourself a favor and learn a new language. And, thanks to modern technology, you don't need to pay for schooling to do so. All you need is a reliable teacher on YouTube and some ample practice time. Number 2. Resisting the urge to gossip. For some people, talking about their peers and acquaintances is a pastime. They're the types who'd share information about others even if they're not supposed to do so. It makes them feel like they have some valuable insider information to pass along, and therefore making them somewhat worthy of being friends with. The reality is the exact opposite. A person who enjoys gossip becomes more difficult to trust. If they dish out other people's dirt to you, they're likely to do it with others at your expense. That's a situation you definitely wouldn't want to be in. It can be difficult to say no to gossip because of the fear of missing out. It's isolating yourself from a potentially important conversation, especially if it's with someone influential. But learning to say no to such a type of exchange will make others around you feel that you're someone who has better things to do than trade gossip. They will trust you more, which makes for a better relationship in the long run. Number 3. Time management. As children, a full hour feels like an eternity. But as we grow into adulthood and face more obligations, those 60 minutes practically fly by. Before we know it, a full day has passed without doing anything of substance. Time management is one of those skills that many of us take for granted. More often than not, we go by our days without a concrete plan, which leads to missed deadlines, unfulfilled obligations, and kids left waiting at school. Experts will have different answers for you with regards to the right time management strategy. Some will suggest taking care of the heavier, more tedious tasks in the morning, then dealing with the lighter tasks as the day progresses. The logic behind that is to check off these harder tasks earlier in the day, while you're at your sharpest. But the one tip that most people will give you is to create a to-do list and adhere to it no matter what. It could be a digital productivity tool of your choice, or the old-fashioned notepad checklist you manually strike off. Of course, abiding by that to-do list also includes avoiding distractions. That goes without saying. Number 4. Developing a healthy sleep hygiene. The importance of sleep cannot be stressed enough. Not only does it allow your body to recuperate, but it also helps you become more efficient at your tasks for the next day. Many adults suffer from sleep disorders that eventually cause greater health risks in the long run. All of it is caused by poor habits they've developed through a prolonged period. They say old habits die hard, but it doesn't mean they can't be undone. When it comes to sleep, here are a few tweaks you can make if you aren't doing so yet. Go to bed around the same time every night. This includes the weekends. You'll find yourself having a more consistent sleep pattern and waking up more refreshed every day. Avoid eating a large meal or drinking alcohol before bed. Keep your eyes off gadgets before bedtime. That includes your TV. The blue light gives you the illusion of daytime, which makes it more difficult to fall asleep. Exercise more. That added physical activity during the day will make it easier to doze off at night. Number 5. Being more consistent. Speaking of developing habits, consistency should be one of them. It's one thing to come up with a life-improving routine, but it can be difficult to keep it up. Let's say you've managed to live healthier and, in the process, you've lost a good amount of unwanted pounds. Many people in a similar situation will fall into the trap of going back to their old detrimental habits of eating bad food and living a sedentary lifestyle. The late, great Joan Rivers once said, "Any form of complacency is the kiss of death for any professional." You must strive to keep moving forward, regardless of how small these steps are. Success can sometimes be an uphill battle, but it can definitely be achievable if you just keep showing up. Before you know it, you've already inched your way to your overall goal. Number 6. Empathy. For most people, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. The general thinking is that life is a game of survival of the fittest, and that you need to be more mindful of your own needs to get by and eventually achieve success. It's this thinking that puts empathy in the backseat, and therefore making it a challenging skill to develop. People instead become more greedy and go by the scarcity mentality. But it takes a mature person to make that big shift to an abundance mentality and be aware of what other people are going through for a change. That instead of thinking you'll run out of resources, think that there's enough to go around for everyone. Consider developing empathy as your own little contribution to make the world a better place to live in. Whether you feel it or not, that act of being in tune with other people and what they're going through creates a ripple effect that in one way or another will foster change for the better. Number 7. Knowing when to ask for help. No one wants to be perceived as incompetent in this world, especially in the workplace. Men in particular see the lack of self-reliance by seeking help as a sign of weakness. This line of thinking couldn't be further from the truth. According to a recent study by the Harvard Business School, asking for someone else's advice gives them the perception that you're validating their intelligence. In turn, you place yourself in their good graces and you earn their respect. Knowing when to ask for help or seek advice also keeps you grounded. It makes you realize your weakness and how to work on them through the counsel of someone more experienced. In the workplace, it helps you become a better team player, which also benefits your colleagues. Self-reliance is definitely an admirable trait, but none of us are superhumans, and we will need a helping hand sometime down the line. Number 8. Listening skills. It's one thing to hear what the other person is saying, but it's another to really listen to the message they're trying to convey. We all want our voices heard and our opinions given importance to. We are therefore more inclined to talk over one another without really absorbing the other person's thoughts and feelings. Some people find it difficult to listen out of concern that they may forget the point they're trying to get across. But knowing when to stop talking and start listening is definitely a valuable life skill. Not only can it help you become a better communicator overall, it also makes conversing with you a much more pleasurable experience. People will perceive you as an insightful, intelligent person, and they will respect you more for that. If you're having trouble with this particular skill, one tip for better active listening is to repeat what the other person has just said. It's pretty much verbalizing a mental note, which also keeps you in tune with the conversation. Number 9. Being in the moment. Can you remember the last time you literally stopped to smell the roses? Or is your mind wandering aimlessly more often than not? According to happiness researcher Matt Killingsworth, 47% of the time we're thinking about something else rather than being focused on what's presently in front of us. And today's technology isn't helping either. As hilariously pointed out by legendary comedian Bill Burr, we'll likely miss the second coming of Jesus Christ because we're all too busy looking down on our phones. Being less in tune of what's happening in the moment makes us less appreciative of what we currently have. We tend to either ruminate about the past or worry about the future. Ultimately, it makes us less happy. A good exercise to develop this skill is mindfulness meditation. A daily 10-minute practice is all you need to get yourself used to being in tune with the world around you. Number 10. Building self-confidence. As terrible as it is, the reality is it's easier to fall into negative self-talk than to prop yourself up. Because of our past mistakes, we tend to fall into a spiral of self-doubt. Whether we do it intentionally or not, we end up sweeping our accomplishments under the rug. We owe it to ourselves to recognize our strengths and celebrate milestones. It helps us build a better relationship with challenges and failures, making us more resilient individuals. A healthy amount of positive self-talk helps. But be sure not to cross that thin line between self-confidence and arrogance. Number 11. Honesty. Honesty is another vital life lesson imparted to us by our parents growing up. We were taught that lying is never good and that it can hurt other people in the process. But as we grow older, we learn about the concept of white lying and withholding information to avoid hurting the other person. It's also because many of us find it awkward to face or hear too much honesty from another individual. A good dose of honesty is usually welcomed, regardless of where you are. As long as you don't have any malicious intent to bring another person down, your candor will be very much appreciated. Number 12. Adaptability. Through the course of the COVID-19 pandemic, the businesses that were able to stay afloat were those that were able to pivot. These are the brilliant entrepreneurs who made the necessary adjustments and adapt to the times. Life isn't always smooth sailing. There will be days when we'll be faced with choppy waters and stormy weather above us. It's knowing how to traverse these rough seas that makes us strong individuals, ready to take on any bumps that lie ahead. It's all about shifting your mindset and knowing how to get back up after a knockdown. With heart and determination, you'll eventually come out victorious. Number 13. Having a beginner mindset. As an old martial arts adage goes, becoming a black belt is the beginning of the journey. There's always something new to learn from everybody. They may be less experienced, but as long as they've gone through the ringer of life, they will have something valuable to contribute. And no matter what level of expertise you have, it pays to keep a beginner mindset and take everything like a sponge, because your growth stops once you allow it to. What other valuable life skills do you think could be included here? Comment below. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. Check out the links in the description for something special.